Hi, I'm Mike Harrington, and in 2014, I embarked on a health journey resulting in my losing over 200 pounds on my own. Since then, I've been sharing my story and have become an advocate for healthy living. Welcome to Mike Inspires Me, a podcast show about health, wellness, and amazing people to inspire you to take charge of your life and your health. Today I wanted to share with you an interview that Donovan Green did of me several years ago called The Power of the Routine. And in this interview, Donovan and I get into depth about a lot of my journey, what motivated me, and a lot of the steps that I took and the importance of those steps to get to where I am today, maintaining and continuing to sustain my health. So I hope you enjoy this interview. It's a little long. It's about 47 minutes. And for those of you who don't know Donovan Green, well, go back and check out this podcast series. Donovan was a guest, I believe it was last year, on the Mike Inspires Me podcast, and we did talking about him. And that was kind of cool to have him. And for those of you who don't know who Donovan is, Donovan, first and foremost, you may have seen him if you watch Dr. Oz. He is Dr. Oz's personal trainer. He comes on and teaches very simple fitness routines, chair exercises, and hosts the No Excuses Fitness series on there, as well as an author and coach to many. And he teaches coaches about entrepreneurship and in the business. So check out that as well if you haven't had a chance. In the meantime, I'm going to let you have a roll at hearing this interview I did several years ago. Hope you enjoy it.
Lose the excuses. You are listening to the Donovan Green Show, covering fitness, health, lifestyle, and beyond. This is your host, author, motivational speaker, and your fitness coach, Donovan Green.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in today. It's a phenomenal day, and I have a great friend of mine, Mike Harrington, who is out of Connecticut. This man is amazing. He is inspiration to many. He has done so many things throughout the world. He's a big advocate in health, a motivational speaker. He's also a writer, and he has the highest energy that you will ever meet in someone. And I really want to introduce this guy and let you know he is a light that's needed in this planet. So here we go. Mike, what's up, man? What's happening?
Hey there, buddy. Hey, great to be here, man. This is exciting, and hello world. I tell you, this has been an incredible journey, and I'm just so excited to be able to share it with you guys because, one of the things when I started out this whole thing, I never knew it would lead to all this.
Let me tell you something. A journey is something that nobody really knows what's going to be the outcome when you go through a journey. For me, the word journey is very easy. Anybody can go through a journey, but a quest is something that's totally different. When you go on a quest, you are going with the intentions on change. You're going with the intention that something has to change in your life. That is your quest. And let me tell you, you went through something, and I'm not going to tell these listeners what you have done yet. We're going to talk a little bit just about your personal life, and you could ask me questions as well. And then we're going to go right into it, the boom, the bam, and get them really inspired to get up and do more. And let me tell you, people, get ready for the storm, baby, because it's coming. So Mike, here's a question I have for you first. What are the things that you absolutely love doing in your day? What are your days like? What do you do, bro? What is your days like? What is it?
It's amazing. Nowadays, all I can think about is just trying to help the world and just about fitness and just trying to solve some of the struggles that we're all dealing with every day. I mean, Donovan, as you know, there is so much conflicting information out there about, especially around health and about things to eat, exercises to do. So I spend a lot of my day. I wake up each morning. Before I go into work, and I get up and I start reading the news, and I read about weight loss, fitness, and obesity, and I just start studying out there, and I start putting things out and trying to get people inspired about that. Soon after that, I go and I work out. So I go and I get up, and I'm up at 4 a.m.
Yeah, baby. The rest of the world might consider you crazy.
Oh, let me tell you, it takes crazy people to change the world. And, I do it because I love it, not just because, I feel like I have to.
You know what? That's an important point that you're touching on. When someone is listening to you and they're a beginner in working out, or even, trying to grow their business, they are not prepared for what they have to do. They don't realize it takes a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication, and you have to really have a strategy. And listening to what you're saying, you have your strategy, and your strategy works well for your program. And it's amazing, man. I commend you in that. 4 a.m, bro.
4 a.m.
People are still sleeping right now. 4 o'clock in the morning, they are basically yawning, like having bad dreams, man. And you're out there living, bro. That's big.
The early bird, right? The early bird. You got to catch that worm, and that's the way I see it. I've come to a point in my life where, I just, if you want it bad enough, you'll figure out a way to get it. And that's kind of my philosophy now.
Yeah, I like that. If you want it bad enough. As a fitness coach and being around so many people in fitness and everyone who's trying to change their bodies, I tell them, if you don't want it bad enough, if you don't have a big enough why, then you're not going to get that. And this is the thing that people don't realize. If you're trying to lose the weight, you're trying to gain muscle because you have a wedding coming up, or because you have a prom to go to, or because there's a cruise coming up, then that why is not really big enough yet. You have to find a why for you to really stay committed. Now, if you are been diagnosed with a disease that's life-threatening, now your why becomes really big because your life is on the line, and you're like, no matter what it takes, I am going to lose this weight, or I'm going to grow these muscles no matter what. Because now my why is so much bigger than the how and the where and the maybes and all these other stuff. Am I making sense there, Mike?
You absolutely are. And, and that's something, and it's different for everybody, right? So, for me, I had my reasons, what made me change. And, you bring up a good point. People who are in poor health, especially if you're overweight, they never want to be there. And that why has to be there for them. And they have to be able to figure out what that is and get that motivation to say, okay, I'm going to use that, and I'm going to use that to drive me to that point that I want to be at.
Oh, man, I love that. I love you, man. I'm not afraid to say
brother. This is awesome.
Give me a big hug, brother. This is great stuff, man. You know what? You are in a special breed.
Yep.
And, in the world is separated. The world have the people who are dreamers and the ones who are doers, right? Yep. And they say dreams are one step away from reality. And you have made so many things become reality.
Oh, my God.
Things happened in your life, and we're going to touch that pretty soon. Yep. And I can't wait to share your story, because your story is one of the most exciting stories that I've heard this year. And I've heard some really exciting stories. But let me tell you, listeners, just get your pen, get your paper, because Mike is going to share some steps, and you're going to hear his strategies and his outcome and where he's at right now. But here's another question for you, right?
Sure.
When you wake up in the morning, you do your 4 o'clock stuff and all that, how does that make you feel when you see the world, man? Like, how do you feel?
Oh, my gosh. What's funny, too? You get up in the morning, and I'll admit, I do have a little cup of coffee, but I get up and I do that, and I'm just ready. I get downstairs, and, it's a slow start. I work out at home. And this is something you and I started to talk about, is keeping it simple. I have my own setup gym right here at the house. And I still have cement weights, and I just keep it simple, and it makes me feel fantastic. I get up, and by the time I'm done and I'm drenched in sweat and I have to go into my day job, I'm just ready to go.
Yeah, I get it. Can you give me a walkthrough on what your home gym looks like? What do you have in your home gym?
It's homegrown. I hate to call it a mess, but it's a mishmash of things. I primarily use, so I do a couple of things. I do have cement weights, and I also have one of those weeder benches too that uses your body weight strength as part of exercising. I like to do that because I work out by myself. Safety is very important. And I had an incident years ago where I was bench pressing, and the bar got stuck on my chest. So I learned that lesson pretty quickly. Eventually, I want to get some other types of weights. But for now, I've got I've got a weight bench. I've got a treadmill, which I use occasionally. I'm not big on walking indoors unless I absolutely have to, because as you know, Donovan, I love hiking, but we'll talk about that in a little later. I also have a spin bike, which I do use quite regularly because I love doing HIIT. Oh, I love HIIT. I discovered HIIT as I got a little better in my exercise routines. And so when I lift weights during the week, I'll do a set and then I'll rip out a HIIT. I'll do burpees with dumbbells.
Ooh.
I'll do jumping jacks with 10-pound dumbbells. I start doing when I discovered burpees with dumbbells, let me tell you, that took me to a whole new level. But yeah, I've got that. And I also have an ab machine too. It's got counterweights on it where you kind of grab it by you kind of pull straps over your shoulders and you can add weights to the other side and get your abs in. So I got that, and I got a little workout floor because I still do aerobics videos. I love doing Taibo, and I love doing Gilad Janklowitz aerobics videos too. So it's kind of my own little mini studio. It's kind of a mess, but it's my little home and it's my little place where I made it all happen.
Yeah, listen, man, a gym doesn't have to be neat. That's your place. You know your place. I might go to your gym and break my ankle, but you'll be just fine because you know your own space.
That's right, man.
So it's your space. But you know what? It's so good to hear you saying this, man, because people always feel like they have to go to a gym to get fit. And I tell them over and over again, you can take $50 and go and buy some very cheap, inexpensive equipment and build a gym. You could even take $500 if you want to build a bigger budget and go and invest in things. Craigslist, for example, people are always selling equipment. So I'm happy to hear that you have a home gym. High five, baby.
Oh, yeah, man. Let me tell you. And you want to add one more thing added to the level, too. You know, the TRX things out there. So I actually started on the weekends doing suspension training. And there is an off-brand one. I won't mention it right now, but, well, maybe I can. There's one made by WOSS, W-O-S-S, that makes suspension trainer. And I added that into my mix on the weekends. And, dude, $40, and you can do almost any type of resistance exercise on this thing and go anywhere, in the woods, in your hotel room. What you say, no excuses. Well, let me tell you, brother, no excuses with the WOSS trainer. You can take it anywhere.
Where do you buy it?
Amazon.
Yeah, baby.
You could buy anything on Amazon.
Everything. Listen, you could buy anything on Amazon, man.
But that thing is awesome. Yeah.
Yo, suspension training is really good. It's all body weight.
Yep.
And for listeners who are not understanding what HIIT is, this is high intensity interval training. HIIT is a very short workouts. They're done in really strong bursts. Like Mike said, he loves using that with his bike and really loves implementing. Let me tell you, HIIT, you will destroy body fat and burn some serious calories. Look it up, get on Google University, and check it out. Now, Mike,
yes, sir.
My man, my boy, let's get down to the nitty gritty.
Sure thing.
How much weight did you once weigh, bro? How much?
You want to know something? It's sad to say, I don't know my peak, but I will tell you the last recorded doctor's weight before I started, everybody sitting, 403 pounds.
Oh my gosh. Just for the record, as I'm talking to you, I do stand-up podcasts. I don't like sitting down. I have my microphone set up very high and I'm standing. 403 pounds.
And I probably was higher. I was probably higher. I was at a point, guys, I was wearing a 4X shirt. I was wearing max of what JCPenney carried, and I was already bursting out of that. And I don't even know. I didn't have a scale that could weigh me, but that was the last recorded weight.
Wow. Well, listen, man, thanks for even putting it out there in the public. A lot of people has been there. And before we even go to what happened with the weight, so during that time when you gained this weight, was there something that led you up to gaining the weight? Was there something traumatic in your life? Did something change? Was it a job, a family experience? What did it?
I will reveal to this, and Donovan, this is something that's, I won't get into the whole details of it, but I will tell people, and this is something that's very personal to me, and I've been revealing it slowly because I didn't really realize it till, and I'm kind of getting the wrong ways around it because it's a tough thing to talk about, but I had been abused as a child by some older boys a long time ago, and I didn't realize that I carried shame of that for many, many years, and I always felt ashamed of myself, and I carried that shame and I took it out in ways where I learned to not care about myself. And when you don't care about yourself, you don't take care of yourself. But it's amazing that one incident in your life that, there were a combination of things in my life that kind of led to it. But that's probably the biggest point that kind of led to the carrying the shame and carrying that sort of self-hatred. But I also grew up in a family that was not very good with eating habits and not very active. And so that kind of also contributed to it.
Wow. Yeah, it's from my experience. It's first of all, thanks for sharing that. By the way, it takes a lot to share certain things.
Yeah.
I have a good friend of mine, Lewis Howes, who has an amazing podcast as well, and he just started sharing his experiences as a child getting molested, sexually molested.
Yep.
And there are so many more people coming out into the world. But brother, I'll tell you one thing. There are so many who needs to hear this and needs to understand, because when people hear, 400 pounds, they're like, oh, you're a fat, lazy pig. Absolutely. That's what the world sees it as. Yep. But what people don't realize, you don't just gain weight just to gain weight. You're going to go through something. There's something that happened that broke that spirit. There's something that happened that really made you feel like, you know what? I don't really care about this right now. I'm just going to eat whatever. Plus, growing up in a home where food is just there. There's no healthy stuff. It's like, look at that. It's like, I'm going to eat this. I'm going to eat that. That's what happens to a lot of us, man. I was a chubby kid growing up. I was a fat kid growing up, man. So I wasn't this skinny, fit kid. I was from Jamaica, had a deep accent. Yeah. People would crack up on me. I got my butt whooped a few times. It took me some time to wake up. So, I mean, we all have these little moments. Yep. And then I realized, you know what? Being fit is the best way. I saw Bruce Lee. That was a wrap. That was it.
That's awesome, man.
But yo, thank you for sharing that, man. And I know there are so many people who are going through this right now. Yep. When you started breaking away from this, yep, and you started realizing you are where you are and you're just no longer comfortable, what was that breaking point for you? Do you mind sharing that?
Absolutely. But you know what's funny? There were many of those through the years. But if we want to talk specific about this particular last time and the very last time and what made me choose to completely dedicate my life to this, that's what I'll focus on. There were many times.
Let's dilute it then, because listen, people go through this. It's like, this year is going to be better. Yep. No, next year I'm going to do better than last year. So let's just kind of break through a little bit and then lead up to where you really said, that's enough. My foot is down. No one is stopping me now.
Yeah. So, I had started really gaining weight as I got into my early adulthood. And there were many times I can remember with my first wife, we had gone on a journey and started losing weight and getting fit and keeping track. Back then we were dieting and we were using the Weight Watchers books and we were doing a lot of aerobics, and that's actually when I started learning about Galad. But really back then it was just about, I got tired of the stigma of being fat. It just, it didn't feel good. When people look at you or people make comments or, you can't buy certain clothes and you want to go to the store and buy clothes off the rack. Back then I probably wasn't, I'm not sure how big I was, but through the years it would go up and down. And so I would gain weight and then I would lose momentum because I never, ever really committed to a lifestyle. And so, I had joined groups. I belonged to TOPS at one point. And again, each time it was something where either something with my health or the doctor telling me you need to do something. I mean, we all know, nobody ever really wants to be fat. And so, each time it was some sort of warning or I started to get medical conditions. And so towards the end of my upper 30s, when I was, my late 30s, I started getting some health conditions like sleep apnea. And even later, and I developed pre-diabetes, and then high blood pressure, and started having to take medication. And I started to have to take my blood twice a day for checking my blood sugar. And
wow. And
I said to myself, all of this is because I'm fat. And it wasn't because of I inherited diabetes or because I was, it's the sleep apnea. Now, the doctor did tell me, well, it may not be because of the obesity. We don't know that for sure. But something? I said to myself, this is crazy. I'm doing this to myself.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that is the truth. The truth comes out when you can accept the truth and really look at your own problems, right? They say no problems can be solved until you come to the truth. And that's a wake-up call, brother. That is a wake-up call. And I'm happy you did. I'm happy you woke up and saw what you were doing to your body. And this is what I want a lot of the listeners to start to realize as they start to hear these amazing stories and these guests coming on the show is your wake-up call is your wake-up call. No one can scare you or whatever. You have to be the one to psychologically snap out of it and come to this conclusion. So moving forward, it brought you to where you are now.
Yep.
Where are you now?
Well, and actually, there's an in between. If you don't mind, I'll interject one thing. So
please,
share.
Yeah.
So once I got those conditions, what really kind of broke the straw, the straw that broke the camel's back, was my father. In the late 2000s, my father was diagnosed with colon cancer and eventually lung cancer, and we struggled with that. And my father was not the best in taking care of his own health. And the reasons he ended up with those conditions, the lung cancer was because of his smoking, the colon cancer was his diet. And eventually, by 2010, his condition worsened and he passed away. And I was in the room with him the moment he passed. And I can remember all up to that point, he kept saying to me and my brother, he kept saying, "Oh, I'm not afraid to die." And then I can tell you, brother, it was just, I've written about this, and I've actually had people almost sickened by reading this because it was my father, I watched him struggle for the last moments of his life, and I saw regret.
Wow.
And I just said, I can't do that. I can't. And I said to my mother, my mom's an RN, and my mother, she luckily missed the whole scene. And when she came into the room afterwards, I said, "Mom, we got to learn something from Dad's poor habits. We got to change our lives. I can't." And it took me a few years to figure it out, and I even made a couple more attempts. But it was finally, I said to myself, the only way I'm going to ever lose weight and make it, and I know you love this word, sustainable.
Yes.
Is I have to commit to it completely.
Yes. Oh, sustainable, man, and commitment, man.
Yep.
Wow, bro. It's crazy though, because like my father, he's still alive, thank God. But my father caught a stroke about 6 years ago, and he eats a lot of meat.
Yep.
His gut is so big in front of him, and I try to talk to him about fitness and nutrition, and
Yep.
old school. I don't want to hear that. And plus, he's from Jamaica, so Jamaica.
Yep.
Oh my gosh! But even after his stroke, you would think that he would change his diet and change his work, start working out more and start doing stuff like that. He did not, and he's still not doing it. So it's crazy how one person's experience can change another person's life, and how somebody else can go through something so dramatic and still stay where they are.
It's amazing. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, they say. And
correct. That's the saying, and I love that saying too. But it's wow, man.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Your father transitioned.
Yep.
And his experience through his life actually, well, in a way, it's like he saved your life in a way.
He really did. And something, I think about that sometimes. And when I finally did make it, I can remember one time I was out in the woods, and I've done this many times. I can remember just crying and talking, looking at the sky and just saying, "Dad, I wish you could have been here." But yeah, it was almost like you're right. It's emotional, man. Let me tell you.
Man. Yeah, it is, man. It is. But once again, I want to thank you for taking the energy, man, just to share that, to share that important information, because there's so many people who are going through this stuff. And, when you listen to these fitness shows, it's always all this excited stuff, and nobody want to talk about the deep-rooted issues and, how does it feel to be fat, and what does it feel to go through these issues, and what got you there, but it's so phony, man.
Yeah.
So I love your realness, and I love you bringing it to the table, brother. That's what I'm loving. The program is called Lose the Excuses. So we are losing the excuses together. We're getting rid of it.
Yep.
Now, moving forward, you got the moment. You got the wake up moment. You were 403 pounds according to the doctor's scale. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. Who knows? Now, you went through these ups and downs. You went through the struggles. You got diagnosed with all these things, all these little things that was like, whoa, Mike, you need to start losing this weight, bro. Everything is on set because of your weight gain. Weight loss. Did you lose the weight?
I sure did. And I realized one thing, and it's funny, you and I talked about this beforehand. I realized I could not just jump into it and just do it all at once. I had to take it into small chunks. And what do we call it? Small changes over time. And so I realized the only way I was going to be able to get out of where I was to do the reverse of what I did to get myself fat in the first place. How about that?
How about that, baby? That's some food for thought, man. That's food for thought. So you kept it simple. You kept it simple.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with KISS, KISS?
Yes, keep it simple, silly.
Yeah, exactly. I like how you changed the word. Thank you for changing it up. But it's so real. So you took these steps, realized it took time to gain the weight, and it's going to take some time to get the weight off.
Exactly.
It's so funny, bro. I mean, I just shot a video today for my academy program online. And the video was talking about that. It's titled Step by Step.
Oh, beautiful.
So what was the transition? What was the process?
So let's talk about, yeah, exactly. And this is the meat and potatoes, right, of what I did. So the first thing I did, believe it or not, which is probably even more important, is I looked for a way to track all of my food. And the great thing is, in this day and age, we have fitness trackers. And I did some research, and I found MyFitnessPal.
I love it. I love that app.
And I got to tell you, man, that was probably key in the success of me doing several things, okay? Number one, it was key in me being able to get a handle around how much I was eating. Because let me tell you something, if you're 400-something pounds, don't fool yourself. I've heard a lot of people try to tell me, oh, I don't eat that much. You can't sustain that much weight without the intake. And boy, it was eye-opening when I started tracking. And I'm talking everything that went in my mouth, including NyQuil, which, by the way, has 90 calories.
And the sugar.
Exactly. And alcohol.
And alcohol. Yep.
Yep. And so that was first, okay? And so I started doing it. And it wasn't easy. But the great thing is I carried it around on my phone. I put it on an app, and I made it KISS. Kept it simple. And I started out with very moderate aerobic exercises. I had some 25-minute aerobic videos that I've been doing on and off for years. They're very simple. They just go through, and wasn't so much about, and here's another thing I know you're going to love, because I'm starting to figure you out, Donovan. It wasn't so much about the exercise it was the routine I was establishing.
Love that. So I'm going to pause there for a second. So people, they will get into these workouts, and they will do one workout, 2 workouts, and maybe 4 workouts. Maybe they even go to 10 workout, and they'll give up. They'll quit because they're not seeing the results. And the reason why is what? They're not developing a routine, right? Is that what you're saying? They're not building a routine around the program?
I think it is far more important to build a routine than it is to, and unfortunately we do live in a society where we feel like we need to see the results. But, I knew one thing, that consistency over time would eventually yield results. You can't just keep working out and just never, and also modifying your diet and not see something. But I knew that in order for me to commit to a lifestyle, I had to condition my mind and my body to this routine, because I wasn't doing these things before. I went through a reinvention of myself.
I love it. You basically killed the old you and rebirthed the new you.
I actually think of my old self in third person.
Yeah, your old self is some other guy. Who is that? Yeah, I'm talking to the Batman version right now. Like, you are like the 2.0 version of Mike. It's like, this is a brand new guy.
I actually am wearing a Captain America shirt right now.
Oh, get out of town. Yo, we got to go. Oh, man, I can't wait for that movie to come out, too, the new one. But let me tell you, I'm proud of you, because these are the steps that I am trying to get people to understand.
Yep.
You have to create your steps, and you have to build a foundation, and you have to create a routine. If there's no routine, then there's nothing. Everything is just at a standstill. Routines for everything. We all have a routine. We get up in the morning, right? Some people will brush their teeth, take a shower, have breakfast. Some people will do meditation. They'll do a workout. They'll wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning like you. And then, it's a routine, and it becomes a part of you. I think that a lot of times, not all the times, but many of the times, people do not spend enough time focusing on them and giving themselves time, the me time, not the kids' time, not the husband's time, not the wife's time, not the job's time, but the me time. And it sounds like that's what you mastered. You looked at your body, you looked at where you were able to feel, I mean, am I allowed to use the word disgusted here? You felt disgusted by yourself?
I was disgusted about my entire life. I was nowhere near where I wanted to be. And, you know, your emotions and your self-esteem and everything are so wrapped up in it.
Oh man, that's deep, man. I mean, we both can relate to things like this. You know, both of us can relate to things like this, because I know how it feels to be disgusted and not being able to do things and change things and being mocked. Oh my God, being bullied as a kid was not fun for me. And I decided not to be bullied anymore. Started working out, started taking martial arts, and I felt more confident, started creating my routines. And I'm here now to this very day. So now we got those things in order. Your workouts, I know you said you were a big fan of Gilad, and he has a program on Bodies in Motion. I remember this guy, man. This guy was shredded, ripped up. He had like all these DVD programs. I think they used to show him on, was it PBS they used to show him on as well?
He actually ran on ESPN for a number of years, and then Fit TV, I think, for a while carried him too. And I think now he's actually being shown on some Jewish something network. He is Israeli. So he and I are actually we've been talking too. I got to meet him actually after my journey, and but he ran on ESPN for I forgot how long. He might have been on PBS too. I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because I used to always see his workouts. But the whole purpose was you had someone that you looked up to, and you went through this journey. We have not revealed the weight loss number yet, which we won't, not yet, and you got to meet him, and I think that's a powerful statement, right? It's a powerful statement. It's looking up to someone and saying, "Wow, I am going to meet this guy." You told me that you said that you were going to meet him
20-something years ago. Yeah.
You threw it out in the universe.
Yeah, and I haven't got to meet him in person, but I've had many conversations. Yeah,
that's okay. That's just as good. Yeah. It's still communications. So, when you started this journey, what struggles, what stick in the wheels did you end up having to go through?
Oh my gosh. So it was interesting too, because just prior to that too, as you can imagine, some of the things, and I'll talk about the struggles going through it. I'll also just talk a little bit about just what some of the ones that to kind of give a frame of reference. So when you can't fit in a booth at a restaurant, or when you break plastic chairs and those type of things, your whole life is kind of centered around trying to be really, really careful about things. And so when I started my journey, I think some of the hardest parts, it's more than just the exercise. Believe it or not, the exercise is the easy part. And believe it or not, the food that you eat can be the easy part. The hardest part is in the mind. It's the roadblocks we set up for ourselves, the excuses. But I think for me, I learned a key thing and this is something what I'm all about and what I want really to be able to teach to people is how, and it's exactly what you're talking about, the no excuses, is how to not allow those roadblocks get in your way, how to figure out a way. If the door is closed, I'll go around it. I'll go under it, I'll go through it, I'll smash through it. Whatever it takes, I got to get there. And, there were times, I got to tell you. So I started working out. It was when I started the whole thing, it was May. And so the part of the year was fine. And as we got to the winter, there were times I can remember I would get home from work and it would be getting dark and I would just go out and walk, and I didn't care because I can't, like I said, I can't stand walking inside on the treadmill. So I would just go out and walk out in the streets, icy, snow. I live up in Connecticut. And so we had some bad winters a few years ago, and I can remember slipping and falling. And, I don't know. It was weird for me, Donovan. There were times I never really that whole time felt like I don't want to. In fact, I was always, here's another, looking for excuses to exercise.
Yeah, baby. Whoa, that's what I'm talking about. Looking for the excuses to exercise, not to exercise. People it's going to probably take them a little time to understand what you just said.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the brain is not catching on. So you're hitting all the points. You're hitting all the points. You were driven. You had a driving force behind you. You didn't have a whole team of people pushing you.
Nobody.
You didn't have a personal trainer.
Nope.
You did this all on your own. Did you have a dietitian, a nutritionist?
No.
All on your own. You had your own gym in the house. Can't stand walking indoors. Went outside. Connecticut is beautiful. Love Connecticut. Love Connecticut. So now we're coming up towards the end pretty soon. The mindset is everything it's all about. Like you said, it's the mental capacity to be able to push a little further and to go beyond yourself, is to really generate that energy and that internal force. Like they say in Star Wars, the force is within you, or it's with you. It is with you. So pushing forward, you're doing this, you're working out, you're eating right, you're doing your walks, you're building yourself up, 4 o'clock in the morning, you're feeling great, everything is going good, you're getting over all this stuff, you're falling, you're getting back up, all of that. What did all of that commitment and hard work and dedication and time and cries and tears, what did all of that lead to?
So in 11 months, you ready for this, guys? I'm
ready.
Over 205 pounds.
Wow. I want to ask everybody to take a deep breath real fast. Do the math. 11 months, over 205 pounds. Do that math for a second.
I weighed less than what I lost. I lost more than half my body weight.
Brother, you are a champion, you're a hero, and the whole world needs to hear you. The whole world, because there are so many people. Congratulations on that. That is big.
It is.
That is a story that you and I are working on, and we're going to build that story because there are so many people out there that is struggling with weight, and with the weight comes so many other problems. And I tell people, when you gain weight or when you lose weight, losing weight does not make you happy. Being happy is what makes you lose the weight.
Yep.
So when I tell people these little quick stuff, it's a little nugget that makes them really start to think. Because how did you gain the weight in the first place? You weren't happy. Oh, I'm the most happiest person in the world, so look at me. I'm going to gain 150 pounds. Right. No, there are things that happens. So, Mike, your story, your journey, your whole commitment, brother, I want to acknowledge that. And I just want to say that you are a hero.
Oh,
and
wow.
they need to send you like a $20 million check.
Oh, man.
That's what awesome. A $20 million check.
And you know what, brother? And that's awesome. You know what's funny, though? And that's one thing that actually I want to put. What drove me to the end is I looked at my weight loss like winning the lottery. And I used to say to myself, when I get to the end, I'm going to get $10 million. And you know what's funny? When I got to the end, I told my wife, I said, this is better than winning the lottery. And brother, that. As much as I know my story is going to get some notoriety and everything like that, all I care about is, man, if I can just get out and help people. That's all I want to do. I just love people, and I love helping, and I love talking, and I love getting people excited.
Well, you're doing it right now, though. You're helping people right now. Have you personally created any type of groups in your community? Have you looked into any type of organizations that deals with weight loss? Have you looked into any of these groups to find ways to spread your message?
Yeah, so I've done a couple things. I'm involved in a couple of LinkedIn weight loss groups. They're out there. I can't remember the name. There's a couple of them. You guys can go out on LinkedIn and check them out. And I'm also looking back into sharing with the TOPS group that I used to originally belong to. I'd like to go back to them. One, surprise them by coming back, but also kind of come and help them through some of the process and understand some of the things that I went through to help them get to the next level. Because some of those groups, they really kind of stagnate on the process and they don't really think outside the box. But the other thing that I've been doing, and I told you this, is I'm reaching out to some individuals who are in leaders in the health and weight loss forum, and trying to see ways that I can get involved in further coming to the table and talking about some of the things that I did, not only to talk about just what I did to lose weight, but also about prevention.
The thing that I would love to see you doing, though, is to create your own specific program. That's what I was getting at earlier.
Yeah.
is to create your own personal groups, use your own stories, gather people up in your area, in your community, and start to create your groups. The problem with a lot of these major corporations is they're exactly what it is. They're corporations, and it's a lot of schemes and gimmicks behind it. Not all of them, but you need to have control over your stuff and what you're doing.
Agreed.
I think you did a phenomenal job, Brad. There are men and women who needs to hear your story. You know, we didn't go so deep into details as far as what your nutrition was like. As a matter of fact, can we touch just a little bit on what you changed up in your diet? Because 80% of this whole thing is really about that diet. It's not the exercise. It's it's what did you change? Or what did you add?
Well, what's funny too? I used to say in the beginning of days that, if I want a cheeseburger, I'll still have a cheeseburger. But, I've kind of moved away from those things. And I have a couple philosophies. One, if I believe in not completely cutting things out, because if there's certain things you like, for example, I really enjoy, chocolate chip cookies, right? I'm never going to say I can't ever have those. But if I do, I have to think about the consequences. With every bite of food that I eat, I do this. I look at it and I say, what's it going to do for me? What's it going to do for my body? What's it going to do for my workout? And so I did have to change a couple things. Over time, you learn to change your diet. I do eat more vegetables than I used to. I love smoothies. Oh my gosh, I go through bags of kale. I love kale smoothies, and I put some fruit and some kale and all that. I do try to watch sugar. I've cut out a lot of sugar, and I don't drink any soda. I don't drink. I never really did much. I always generally ate fairly healthy, but I've cut out a little more carbs of late because I'm bodybuilding. And I hope you don't cringe. I've been trying a little carb cycling when I've been weightlifting, but I don't recommend that to everybody, certainly not at the level, where people are starting out. I'm experimenting a little bit. And that's the other thing I just want to point out, too, is through this whole process, I'm constantly changing, constantly improving, constantly reassessing and trying different things to hone down what I'm trying to do. I have goals where I want to get to in phase 2 here. And so with the foods, high fiber. I do try to do that. I eat a lot of nuts. I eat a lot of I do use a little bit of protein supplements, whey, things like that after I lift weights, but not a lot. I do try to eat more whole foods, fish, chicken, those type of things. I don't eat a lot of beef. I know you're vegetarian, right?
Yeah, I'm a vegan.
Yep. So you're not even ovo-lacto. So I do like eggs, but I do try to watch them.
That's good, man. So is your portion much smaller?
They are much smaller, but it's hard. So so here's a key thing that I learned. So at one point I was saying that I beat my obesity demon. Ha ha ha. No. It's an addiction. I have an eating disorder, and I will always have an eating disorder. So it really comes around tactics, techniques. And for example, my mother came up to visit and we went to a buffet. Well, I have to have a game plan before I go in. And I already have to plan out what I'm going to do and what I'm going to eat before I go there, because I much like any other addiction, like an alcoholic or anything else. And I've even had those problems in my life too. I have addiction problems. I have to be careful. Because, it's funny, this guy I'm working with right now, who's also struggling with his weight, he said he quit cigarettes and he quit alcohol, and it was so much easier. He says food is one of the toughest things to manage.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. It's the industry. These people they're putting a lot of money into the foods, into the ingredients that's designed to keep you sick, keep you fat, and keep you addicted. It's worse than crack, worse than cocaine.
Yeah.
Okay? So he's right. It's easy to quit anything else, but food is every single where you go.
And you need it to survive.
The average person sees about 10,000 images of food every year. The average. That's a lot of images that you're seeing just rolling through your Rolodex every day. And like you said, you need it to survive, but the stuff that they are selling is not food. Okay, so that's a totally different podcast.
Yeah.
And we could do that one too, but it's just not food. And that's what people need to realize. Stop calling junk food. It's just junk. And then there is food. There's two separate things. Bro, I want to thank you, man.
Oh, man.
I want to thank you.
Thank you.
I have 3 questions I want to ask you.
Sure.
The first thing, what makes you smile?
It's so easy. It's putting a smile on somebody else's face.
That's hot. That's hot. The next one I have for you is what drives you every day? What drives you to do what you do?
It's a combination of things, but 2 things. One is a commitment to myself and to life. I committed myself to a dedication to improving myself every day and just constantly and ever improving on my lifestyle, my relationships with people, my spirituality, all those things. That and just what drives me is setting an example. I really feel that at this point now, and I never knew this would happen, but it's here I am. I feel like now I owe it to people too, to set a good example. I've made it, and I want other people to know that they can do it too.
That's great. Last question. So after all is said and gone, all of your work, everything, you're gone. You have transitioned to another life. You're gone. What will people say at your funeral? What are some of the things that you think people will say about you at your funeral?
I think one of the things they're going to say is, Mike really cared about people. I've always had in my prior life, I used to work with disabled adults. And for years, I haven't been able to do that because that career it's not something that pays. And so I think one thing is they'll say, Mike really did care about people. 2, wow, was he stubborn. I really am committed. When I get an idea in my head, I just, and it's just something I really keep pushing until I figure out a way to solve it. And I think that can be a good and bad, but in my case, it's been good. So I think those couple things. And then, the other thing is, and I've heard this many times, he was just a heck of a nice guy. And I don't, it's weird to say that out of my own mouth, but I like being the type of person that people can just feel like they can trust and that they can confide. Some people often tell me things that, are very personal to them. And so I think those things are what they'll probably say.
Oh, man. That's powerful, brother. That is powerful, man. So where can the listeners find you if they want to learn more about you, if they want to reach out to you? Maybe somebody have a company or what? Maybe they're going through some struggles and they want to talk to you about speaking engagements. So they want to get you to speak to their groups or whatever. How can people connect with you?
Yeah, so great. So I got a really simple website for people to remember. It's called MikeInspiresMe.com. You can also check me out on Twitter at MikeInspiresMe.com. And also at Facebook /MikeInspiresMe.
And LinkedIn, right?
And I'm also on LinkedIn under Michael Harrington, yes, under my real name.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. Is there any outgoing thing you want to tell these listeners? Anything you want to tell them before we end off?
Yeah, definitely. Hey, guys, my journey is amazing. And, definitely it's an example of what people can do in their lives if they really put their minds to it. So just remember, if you make small changes in your life, it can lead to big results.
Yes, brother. I'm giving you a big hug right now. God is good. That's all I got to say, man.
Definitely.
Everyone, you guys got to listen to Mike Harrington. You can look him up. He is awesome. He inspires me. MikeInspiresMe.com. Look it up. If you're struggling with anything, you're going through stuff in your life, listen to this story and let the story motivate you to get up off of your butt and get to work. Because listen to me, excuses is just another way of telling me that you want to fail, that you like to fail, and you feel so good as a failure. If that's not what you want, then you stop making those excuses. Get out there, do something really good, and don't let nobody piss you off. Have a great day. Stay in love with yourself. Later.
Hey, everybody. Hey friends, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mike Inspires Me podcast. Stay tuned for future episodes and check out some of the past ones you may have missed. For more information on me and my story, go to mikeinspiresme.com. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Mike Harrington Official and on Twitter at Mike Inspires Me. Stay healthy and stay awesome.